Pioneer Valley Poetry Productions was established to provide a home for experimental, innovative, and avant-garde work in poetry. The organization has sponsored yearly festivals on the Amherst College campus, but these were interrupted this year by the coronavirus. Some of the readers, Don Wellman, Andre Codrescu, Peter Valente, and Christina Davis, have provided video readings which are available on our website. Tonight, we are providing Zoom readings by 4 of the other poets originally scheduled for this year's festival: T.J.Anderson, Leanne Brown, Martha Collins, and Lori Lubeski. The readings will be given ad seriatim without interruption. Briefly, however, I would like to give you a sense of whom you will be hearing. All 4 are among the most accomplished and established poets working today. T.J. Anderson is an Oklahoma native with a doctorate from SUNY Binghamton. He received a BA from the University of Massachusetts, an MFA from the University of Michigan, and a PhD from SUNY Binghamton. He teaches at Hollins University. His books include Devante Travels the Soy Route, Cairo Workbook, River to Cross, and he is also the author of Notes to Make the Sound Come Right, 4 innovators of jazz poetry. Leanne Brown was born in Japan and grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. She received both her BA and her MA from Brown University. The founder of Tender Buttons Press, her books include Polyverse and Other Archer, published in English and French by a French press. A resident of Manhattan, she runs the Page Poetry Parlor. Martha Collins, a native of Nebraska and Iowa, is a poet, translator, and editor. She has published Night Unto Night, Admit One, An American Scrapbook, Day Unto Day, White Papers, and Blue Front. A translator from the Vietnamese, she has taught at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, where she founded the Creative Writing Program. In 2018, she was on the faculty of the Frost Place in Franconia, New Hampshire. Lori Lubeski, an instructor in learning disabilities in programs at Boston University, Harvard University, and Mount Ida College, is the author of Dissuasion Crowd's The Slow Worker, Obedient, A Body, and Sweet Land in collaboration with the Bay Area printmaker Jacob Kalusik, and My Original Enthusiasm, which was published this past year. I would be grateful.
Thank you. And it's a real pleasure to be here to see everybody familiar, some familiar faces and some not familiar faces, old professors from UMass Boston, Martha Collins, who I never had a class with before, but was, always interested in what she was doing, and of course Lloyd Schwartz and Michael and all of the good friends out there. So I thought I would start off something with a little invocation for the ancestors on both sides of the Atlantic. Let's see if this comes through on the Zoom. I'm reading from Devante Travels, route simultaneously. Here's an epigraph that I kind of point to today. It's from Aimé Césaire's notebook on the return to a native land, and it says simply, "My memory is encircled with blood. My memory is a belt of corpses." So Devante kind of documents the travels of the me, not me, the imagined me, the part real me, as he traverses and moves through time. I'm really interested in the notion of straddling multiple worlds at once. I think of Papa Legba, the guardian of the crossroads, who is the bridge between multiple realities, the morality of Earth and the reality of other space, etc. And I'm thinking about what happens with characters or people who inhabit that space where history is a continuous flow. This is the opening poem called The Impossible Sutra. Sound first, then music, cyclical. A way of sonic measure arises out of darkness, as does breath. In fact, is it? Black and whole, if we but listen. Wind piles us in multiple ways, gusting through our bodies, sap, the rise and ebb tone of earth at 136.1 hertz, vibratory snap, our DNA curative, suspended animation of beings pulsating like to our cosmic home among the stars. Ariadne's golden belt, a fabric astronomical, phosphorescent, flight. Cucapelli tricks it out with bent horn and phallic antler and cosmic straw. Perhaps the last one. But it's Newt in her lab coat draped that alchemizes us, shimmering cocoon as filament, coal-lined night. Ma'afra, ma'afra. It is Toph, maker of things we lose track of. Anansi's web, neural vines, the story's translucent strands make the Jacob's ladder ropes. Ma'afra, 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 curl of the ocean sentinel, a wave cupping the great arrival, the darkness of this music that punches through. Canals of bodies, black. Footways of bodies, black, avenues of bodies, bodies black, rivers of plasma, lakes of thirst, turbulence, unseeking, oceans, 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 Ma'afra, oceans, Ma'afra, oceans, Ma'afra. We witnessed a murky fog approaching the ship's aft. I told the first mate to go about, but the current tugged us forward, the Africans below. We stop our tale at that and reckon with the white narrative bleep, impenetrable as fog, paper pregnant with script. I've an uncle, said he'd eat nothing come out of the sea, couldn't stomach black bone broth coursing through fish gills, sand, sediment, onyx and bone. Belly up, starfish, seaweed, tango, barged wood, barnacle visage. The Count impossible to make said I was a made man when she launched her schooner from the business end of a four-poster bed. The new world is the waving arm that morphs to fist, conch shell viciously blown, the dance of the machetes, faces swolled up by brine, by bow, bludgeoned memory, a song carried, caressed, a sling stone loaded. Black canaries feathering the dark. This tune of mine, this place that breaks the black nest of sparks. So that's the opening of the book, and we see the character, and kind of going through various transitional moments, and literally there is a narrative that you can follow through as the book moves along. But at one point, the character Devante is dealing with the loss of his father or the loss of a loved one, and this is how to be remembered. A name, a date, a place, a year, a day, a month, a century, an epic, a season, a surname, a middle initial, a first name, an occupation, a quote, a place to drop flowers, a ridge of stone, a seat of bone, a mound, a knee bent to ground, a section, a locale, a pastoral ridge, a road to drive to, a plot, a thickening, a tear, a tear, a lawn manicure, a special tree, a special plea, a seclusion, a sedation, a seduction, a wail, a testament, a bridge, a finality, a cough, a recognizable sniffle, a special suit, a subdued tie, a receding hairline, a brown shoe, a black belt, a wedding ring, a carnation, a pair of glasses, a handkerchief, a stiff upper lip, a flask, a memorial program, a church fan, a hearse's engine, a white cloud overhead, a fallen leaf, a sudden bird song, a sun in the branches, a nugget of dearth, a sprinkler, a lawnmower, a funeral flag, a random bicyclist, a black gate, a record, a capacity, a requiem, a widow, a windbag, a slide, a slip, a reed, a rhapsody, a lapel, a brush, a flaw, a spare, a sparkle, a spandex, a crown, a castanet, a eulogy, a feud, a flood, a stamp, a cellular text, a sandwich, a candy bar, a bag of nuts, a casserole, a potted plant, a creeping moss, a caterpillar, a cocoon, a loose thread, a sweaty armpit, a cigarette stub, a loose quarter, a bottle of pills, a veil, a hatband, the line of reasoning, a contract, a contact, a religious medal, a lawyer, a widow, a survivor, a shovel, a pulley, a glove, a dog, a beetle, a business card, a repast, a nickel, a sneeze, a cough, a lean, a reunion, a genealogy, a claimant, a brick pathway, a curb, an abode, a body, 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 a body. How am I doing on time? Okay, let's see. I think I'm okay. Okay, a couple more. This is the head to kind of the main poem. The poem that the title is from. Devante Travels the Sorry Route. It's actually based on a painting this friend of mine, Brian Coonahan, Irish-American artist, did of these two figures, and I kind of the characters became the kind of muse for the book. Devante travels the sorry route. True, like I scribed to you, Devante was a foot soldier, hep to the old 1-2 Brogan banged pavement, downbeat long past feats do your stuff. He was the dismordant shuffler, son of the penny Annie offbeat love will find a way, Blakey and Prodigy. Gilder of man, holes in jackball bottles pushed to the curb. He was the hoofer, the wolf boy, calling cadence in Okmulgee back dreams in dawning days where he eagle rocked in Cimarron sledge and ragged tails at a high school dance. After hours, Devante pushed a rickety sharping cart through market lanes and stole so picnic Surrey with the fringe on the top, emblematic of the colonizers' booze, grandiloquent booby prize filth, progeny of branch noose ripe tree, legacy of miraculous bounty of hang-nailed fingers, blood birds, poaching pedigrees to here I am, now you see me, now you don't. Subject to the gaze of distant blue-hatted brothers, or rather a bother of continual apparition, the me, not me, rattling in the stove pipe of his own voice, rife with suffering. A fine education, Mr. Devante, begins with an epigraph from Charles Olson: "An American is a complex of occasions." What does it mean to be a stalker of history? Devante was faced with that question. All through school, the truth was elusive. Placed between the covers of state-sponsored books, they contained a series of dates and numbers, hints of atrocities, records of plagues, sutures, speculums, cranial calipers, petri dish DNA, fetuses in jars, exfoliated skulls, hands sprouting with dark veins, blunt pre-surgical tools, towers of limbs, jaundiced femurs, rib cages racked by disease, nooses, rusted shackles, indigenous meat, gasoline martyrs, electric chair voltage, hydrochloric cleansing, chambers of vapor, police batons and hoses, lie with quicklime, rabid coon hounds, bullwhips, cat-o'-nine-tails, stacks of penises, chopped breasts and swollen tongues, animal fur and talons, identity cards of gonorrhea, leather-bound family Bibles, carbines and swords, smallpox-laden blankets, maps and portraits, places of conquest, outcroppings, shattered rocks, failed timber, inventory of a nation, a place to lay identity at the foot of I am this, that, the other, and all things contained therein. And the last piece I will read is called the Chameras Alchemic Vibe. This is in the last section. The book is divided into 4 sections. If you are sitting on the porch, if you're on a swing, if you are on a porch swing, if you are in the sun in sunlight, on a porch swing, somewhere in the south, southern exposure, and sitting on a green porch swing, taking a poached swig of brew that bakes the dermal edges of the head, articulates where the music is to grow, rhythmic drive where the drummer stirs up trouble with his divining sticks. The atmosphere was auspicious, a moment when no thing could hamper the potent mixture of sound. To a degree, Devante was calling up unfamiliar agents, specters of people long gone, barefoot and road walking among the clouds. Some of them carried root-loaded knapsacks, drawings and daguerreotypes of loved ones lost. What was the mixture that he saw? Brew of brood? Body doubled? The elements conspired against a narrative consistency of need. It was tasteful to a degree, mirthful even, that moment when smoke shapes into animal and object, a way to read the projective perspective before things, the nature of which revolves to dust. On the eaves of a porch, a glimmering chimera sat in judgment. Sulfuric snot drifted out from her nostril. Devante witnessed the gravity of the situation and satisfied himself to be adrift in the lostness of primal cauldrons. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. That was amazing. Love to hear you read. That was really great. I'm down in the South too, so I'll try to talk about that a little bit. I'm down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was just in New York too. So I've been going through boxes of papers like a lot of people. And I unearthed a poem. It was a collaboration. I wanted to start with that. Some of y'all know some of these people. It was written at the Cedar Bar by Larry Fagan, Peter Lamborn Wilson, Jack Collum, Carolee Schneemann, John Wright, Leanne Brown. Poem. Here we are in the so-called Cedar Bar. Who knows what rhetoric means anymore? So-called rhetoric, that is. Chinese checkers is actually a Jewish way of thinking. Ich glaube, with 6, not 10 separaths, as it were. It were, anyway, it's all free. Not to mention that Carolee looks ravishing with her cheeseburger, or former cheeseburger, so to speak, beneath her ketchup globs. $7.95 plus kamikaze lines, which open up a can of worms. So you try to eat Emperor's airplane? Nobody I know, former expert zitherists, worms, that is, are kamikaze limes. Brad's a freegan, eats what's free. Ghost of Carlo Tresca, whacked at 15th and 5th, indent your whiskers, heated fur. And with that, we get involved in labor shenanigans, bumped off by Dagoberto Bumstedo, Chick Young's Hungarian Gunsel, out of recovery. NM, never mind, my blood sugar is off the fucking map. I totally had forgotten that poem. I guess 3 of us are still alive, but I wanted to do this little song for you. I had a friend's mother got a book of mine, and I said, what poem stayed with you? And she said this one, so I'm gonna do this one. It's about Harry Golden, the civil rights worker that lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's called The Ballad of Vertical Integration. Hope y'all can hear me okay. Civil rights was brewing in a Charlotte coffee shop at an orange juice bar called Tanner's down near the main bus stop. Cross of Trade and Tryon where the Cherokee once hunt. Harry Golden cast his shining eye on a way to make his point. In a country of strangers from either side of town, there were only certain places everybody could sit down. Here black and white, both alike, stood up and drank their juice. Eureka, Harry Golden cried, that's the way to call the truce. Take out all the chairs from restaurants, cars, and schools. Get rid of all the benches, make way for other rules. If some folks can't sit down somewhere, then everybody stand. We'll learn and eat vertical integration in this land. He printed up his paper, the Carolina Israelite. Only in America, he then went on to write. Gold dust shines in red clay, we pass on from the past. Harry, thanks for tickling our funny bones to help the changes last. Now it's year 2021. Just look around you how things aren't quite as far along as they ought to be somehow. This ballad is a call to arms to open up our eyes. Each and every one of us, golden can arise. For each and every one of us, a rainbow is the prize. That tune is by Kenward Elmsley from his Postcards on Parade. I snatched it. He had every song in the musical is a different sort of genre. And that was his country western ballad. So I borrowed his tune and wrote that a long time ago, 2003. What else I want to read? I'm going to read, I'm going to read a kind of longish one.
Hear the rest of this reading.
What? Somebody said something.
Well, no, let's just leave it.
What? What happened?
I think we're having a bit of interference from someone who may have not muted their mic. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So everyone should be muting their mics if they're not reading poetry.
Okay, cool. I'm I'm going to read, because has anybody been watching Bridgerton? So there's an actor that plays Queen Charlotte, and she had some African ancestry. So I actually wrote a crown of sonnets for Queen Charlotte. So I'm going to indulge in myself and read that whole thing. And that'd probably take up the rest of my time. I meant to put my timer on. Oh, okay. So this is the book Crowns of Charlotte. So I'm in Charlotte now. So I'm thinking a lot about her. Double crown for Charlotte. For Cecil Giscombe, who first told me my hometown's namesake, Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg, had some African ancestry. Quote, "The portraiture will hide her African features, but history will not." Keisa Bryant, Unexplained Presence. 1. The town I grew up in is feminine, a radiating spiral divided in two, named for Charlotte of Mecklenburg, a queen who had mixed bloodlines, all of them blue, African, Portuguese, and a Vandal or two. So this double crown I set out to hone, half on, half off, made up and true, 15 sonnets, linked and sewn in all manner of newfangled rhyme. Only locals know which avenue winds over to trace a parallel line. Crowns for Charlotte, laurels for you. Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg, now come forth to crown us all with a laurel wreath. To crown us all with a laurel wreath, we filed in with our teacher, one by one, from a yellow school bus, young and green, to find words worn by others as well as our own. I remember standing before her portrait alone, a golden palanquin, completing the scene, larger than life, next to her throne. Charlotte stood, suspended, draped and lean, tapered blue shadows cast on a column, White House, purple, Hellenic, uncurled on black fur dots in soft white ermine, to her sleeve, a lacy collared flower unfurled, choker high up, pearls loop, show her worth. I saw a map early on of North and South. I saw a map early on of North and South Carolina combined, labeled Carolus and Caroline, drawn from the jagged coast left to the west to no end line. Just one long swath that way, hell to the other side of the planet, not even drawn and quartered yet, a gloss written in between lines. A gloss written in between lines of this poem penned for her wedding day. Quote, "Descended from the warlike Vandal race. The Vandals were Germanic, did vandalize. She still preserves that title in her face. Her face, now that's the trace. Though shown their triumphs or Numidia's plain, Namibia, now that's surely Africa, and Andalusian fields, their names retain. All the families here. They but subdued the southern world with arms. She conquers still with her triumphant charms. O born for rule, to whose victorious brow the greatest monarchs of the North must bow." The greatest monarchs of the North must bow, but who's that for us now? Complex corporate fools or rules, having to work as others' tools? Let's consult the children's miscellany under the crazy monarch's entry. One king, fearing he was made of glass, stuck iron rods down his clothes. Another favorite pastime was to wedge himself into a wastepaper basket and roll around on the floor. And a Belgian queen had such a severe phobia of fleas, she had a tiny cannon to fire in the bedroom. King George whines. In the bedroom, King George whines, "I've no peace of mind since we lost America. Forests old as the world itself, meadows, plains, strange, delicate flowers, immense solitudes, and all nature new to art. All ours, mine, gone, a paradise lost." And Charlotte says, "Oh, sing. Oh, sing for my little dog Presto. Oh, sing for my fifth daughter's white nightdress. Oh, sing for my husband's shaving brush and mug. Oh, sing for the partition of linen that swings in the evening air beside my bed, that shelters me from ever watchful eye. When I pull on my little pack of notes. Oh, sing for my India ink and my little wooden lap desk where I can stake my claim yet again. Oh, sing for that which is ordinary goes down to Orcus, unsung. This ordinary song, oh, sing of human DNA's complexity. Of human DNA's complexity, King George III perhaps had porphyria, which made him mistake a large tree for the King of Prussia. Plus he had blue and purple pea. Listen to this. One note from 1811 reads, His Majesty's medicine was given him by force by 7 o'clock, and this has certainly contributed to his irritation and irascibility, which has prevailed ever since. Arsenic in that dose made him worse, and Charlotte had to cope while he lost it in the colonies, big time, of which she wrote, They made me always compare them to a dog which shows its teeth but never dares. A dog which shows its teeth but never dares to bite such a difficult place as history. This is how a poem can breathe. Tear itself open to epiphany. The vertical files and ephemera collection are often ignored, but here's what I found and pulled out for you. It takes 10 seconds to make a baby, and that could be anybody, says the librarian. Family trees can be tricky things to climb. She reads off long lists of 60s riots to someone on the phone as, quote, Lady Sarah, dressed as a shepherdess, makes hay by the road. To decode a painting, one has to get close. To decode a painting, one has to get close and see a letter in Charlotte's own hand, beside 3 portraits of all very different, as if the court descriptors had a hard time making her look good, and also like herself. Sir Allan Ramsay's portrait showed Charlotte's true, quote, true mulatto face and traveled all over the place so the royal pair could tower over their subjects. Before the split from Mother England, Charlotte called it eine kleine Erschütterung, a little shakeup, but nothing decisive. Later, this diabolical war will continue to cost a lot of blood. Cursed be those who encouraged these rebels. There were loyalist women who wouldn't let go of their queen. Who wouldn't let go of their queen? Women made in tribute a quilt pattern, Queen Charlotte's crown in geometric symmetry flaming. Of those who come to the portraits, some come away disappointed when they find Charlotte's isn't more African of face. The copper sculptures show her green. Gainsborough painted Phoebe and Mercury, her Pomeranians, to each look like lions. We are all of us multicultural, even the Queen of England. Compass of her voice, genius of music at her side. Sophia Charlotte was also a painter. Sophia Charlotte was also a painter, as we know from letters to her brother, asking him to buy anonymous supplies before the color is applied or after. Ask discreetly whether they use white in the color or by any means do they achieve their nuances. Charlotte was a pacifist, which attracted King George in the first place. Who will take such a little princess as me? A proposal from across the sea. She practiced English hymns while her ladies in waiting were seasick over the side. One portrait shows her hair caught up in a kerchief, but my favorite is a photograph. of my mother and daughter in front of her off-center sculpture at the airport, one of our many arrivals in town. My daughter wears a homemade crown. Charlotte holds out her diadem in the wind in the distance for all of us to wear. Her curvilinear form dances to vectors of NC jet stream, an old Southern town now on the pathways of the world in a different way than when it was a trade road of Cherokee to Uwharrie, or when George Washington slept here. Do me the favor to burn this if you love me and believe me. Do me the favor to burn this if you love me and believe me in Baroque domesticity. 6 children, 1 a baby on her lap, 9 yet to come and 2 to die beloved, here all beribboned in shining blue royalty. She the true ruler, Zophany shows her in the family way, a clear gaze, I hear Charlotte's plain song now. I am one Charlotte observer, still piecing the puzzle together in an open way, conversing with space, bodies or bodices, sutures in the light. Who are you in this living duet? My answer is coming yet. Adieu, all yours, Charlotte. And then the last has the repeating lines. The town I grew up in is feminine. To crown us all with a laurel wreath, I saw a map early on of north and south, a gloss written in between lines. The greatest monarch of the north must bow in the bedroom. King George whines. Oh, sing of human DNA's complexity. A dog which shows its teeth but never dares to decode a painting. One has to get close. Who didn't want to let go of their queen? Sophia Charlotte was also a painter, but my favorite is a photograph. Do me the favor to burn this if you love me and believe me. Thank you.
Can you hear me? I on? Well, thank you, Leanne, and thank you, TJ, and Lori to come. And thank you, Pioneer Valley Festival, for bringing us together. This is a lot of fun. And it's great to be in the same poetry with you after all these years, TJ. Some years ago, I saw a series of lynching postcards and realized that the hanging my father told me he'd witnessed as a kid in Illinois had actually been a lynching. That led me to what has since been called documentary poetics, which was a new challenge that has continued to inform much of my poetry. But the poems that perhaps mattered most to me in this new work were short ones that focused on a single word, its multiple meanings, usages, nuances, contexts. Most of these are 14 lines long, but they don't act much like sonnets, as Leanne certainly do. I've never read these outside of the context of other poems, so this is kind of an experiment. I'd done a series of these in an earlier book, and I'd like to read just one of those. It's a poem that was written after the Rodney King beating by the police and the verdict of innocence that followed in the 90s. A poem that seems sadly relevant just one day after the anniversary of George Floyd's death. Rights. He had no rights. They beat him up. You've got no right, he said. And he was right, we thought. We saw them beat him up, right? It happened right over there. But it was proper form, the jury said. And they were right. If you could judge the beating by what happened next, our drivers said. Right off they up and burn the place. This right stuff goes too far. Next thing is animal rights, vegetable rights, mow them down. I say, he said, and turned. He had the right of way, license to get where he needed to go. But what if they stopped him anyway? That's the law, and that's their right. The right side of the bodies on the other side of the heart. The next group of these I'll read appear in Blue Front, that book-length poem that focuses on that lynching my father saw. The primary victim was predictably an African American. The lynching began with an attempted hanging from an electric arch, but the rope broke, so then there was a shooting, and finally a burning of the body. An estimated 10,000 people attended in a town, Cairo, Illinois, of 15,000. There are 10 or so of these poems in the book. I'll read 5. Lynch. Not as in pin, the kind that keeps the wheels turning, and not the strip of land that marks the border between two fields. Unrelated to link, as in chain, or by extension, whatever connects one part to another, and therefore not a measure of chain, which in any case is less than the span of a hand holding the reins, the rope, the hoe, or taking something like justice into itself, as when a captain turned judge and gave it his name. That was before it lost its balance and crossed the border, the massed body of undoers claiming connection, relation, an intimate right to the prized parts, to the body undone. Hang. As a mirror on a wall or the fall of a dress, a shirt on a line to fasten to dry. On the rack or back in the closet again, a sweet curse on it all, sliver of nail, delayed attack. Shamed creature, a curse on itself, so the act of doing it changes the verb tense with not quite right. With rope like a swing from a tree, from a pole like a flag, or holidays from an arch lit white with lights. In the night, in the air like a shirt, without or with only a shirt, without like an empty sleeve. Cut. A short across through neighbors' yards, down alleys, under fences in order to get there, not to miss, to see, or maybe even participate, as if to redeem some slight or grievous, recent or old, as if to repair the oldest of all, the one that made us freed of that water, breathers of air, bearers of darkness, incomplete, in need of another eye to see, ear to hear, to save in a jar, a drawer, off, a body claimed, partaken of, ours, and later down if the body held, from bridge or tree or arch, loosed, removed from us, by us, expunged, end of scene, away. Burn. A slow, to feel pain as if or from his face in the wind. To give off light or glow, the electric arch. To produce a stinging, whiskey in their throats. To feel what they said he felt or they with rage. For warmth or food, wood, fuel, a slow. Scorch, blacken, char, the roast, the body. In another place, the barbecue we had. The body lowered, lifted, lowered, a slow. The feet, the calves, a knee, ash in the air. Here, whiskey, the wind, damned, consumed. Always desire, the question, offering of. Cinders, bones, charred head on a post. Shoot. To kill, to more than kill, to kill again and again and again. To send forth bullets as buds from trees, from earth. The word appeared before the gun, and even now an arrow would do, but one by one as buds, so many until. As blades of grass, fast as questions at a growing child. Up, out, through, a bright thread. One quick glance, another, the sudden guns. Off, out, down, the body filled. Now the camera aimed, the body again. Rolls of film, the crowd, the sight, the scene. The body again, the captured head on film. How many bullets in it? Go ahead, tell. And I'll end with some poems from a later book called Admit One, an American Scrapbook. It focuses on the eugenics movement of the early 20th century. which, in claiming the superiority of a particular kind of European, led to a number of disturbing activities and legislation. Increased racism and laws targeting African Americans, the involuntary sterilization of people, especially at the time white people who were considered unfit, and an increased anti-immigration agitation and laws targeting especially Asians and Southern and Eastern Europeans. The book begins at the St. Louis World's Fair, which included, in addition to fake marble palaces extolling the virtues of civilization and progress, contrasting human exhibits of so-called primitive people. I'll read 6 of these, which again are scattered throughout the book. And I should note that the titles repeat the word at the center of the poem, sometimes with different spellings. Fair, fair, fair. Religion and trade in Roman medieval, to trade or display or other goods or animals, county, state, world. Free from bias, doesn't play fair. Beloved woman, completely quite, clean, spotless, pure, blonde, gracious. Fair, trade, game, play, the numbers, buy, sell, deal, the not fair, dark, fair, well, to be bought and sold. Race, race. Stock, strain, family, line, breed, blood, skin, shape of the head of the pack, animal, human, judge. Better, fitter, swiftly to find, foot, horse, car, run for your life around town, the block, the camp. To the top, the finish, contend, compete, in, for, against the other, the not so great, not even in the. Fit, fit. Healthy, hearty, worthy, made to fight, explore, rule, a good, fit for a, fit the facts to be fit as befitting. Undiseased, defective, dragging down, might have a right here in the yard to be tied, so can't have more of them select. Fit into a square, a round of weeping, anger, and starts to be stopped before they throw a poor, poor, and if the shoe. Pass, pass, pass. Through, over, across the river, gate, way to the other side world, onto one's issue, the torch, the next. Slip away a paper, a test into or onto, or into a law, or off oneself as something other than what, because one couldn't. Came to such a by on the other side or over, fallen all under, standing without, not in, not from, not on. The book these are in is called Admit One, an American Scrapbook, and this poem alludes to the second part of the title. Scrap, scrap, scraps. bit, part, discarded, old, useless, torn from scrape, rip into pieces, get into over a thing, cut out from us. Him, her, fragments save, as in paper words unlike waste can have significant something out of something. And the last poem I'll read is the last poem in the book. It's the book called Admit One is ending with exeunt. Take the nearest, last, off to the left stage show over a marked door line. Visitor, handler, exhibit with animal, guarded the barred band with child without. All of them gatherers, gathered, or some of them, citizens, justices, unfit, excluded, except. Closed, no, or into the open air, the way out will not be the way we came. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. So happy to be here reading with old friends and new friends, and grateful that everybody's here. Old friends and new friends. I'm going to read a few pieces. First one is inspired by dancer Emma Portner. After my brother died of a gruesome battle with cancer. Everybody hear me? And just a brutal death. I was so alienated in my body that I found myself just escaping into these YouTube videos where I was trying to just see people dancing and doing beautiful things with the body, as opposed to this deteriorating body that I had just witnessed for so long, someone that I loved. So I became obsessed with these dancing videos just to watch the body. And I was so uncomfortable in my own body and so traumatized. I was like nauseous half the time. And writing this poem helped me to take myself out of the body and give the body other characteristics or qualities, or take the body out of the body and put it in the world somehow so that it could be more distanced from me. So this is called Because I Could Not Let Go, I Was Dragged. Through this primitive asphalt, over these rivers, into dunes of morning escape. Because I could never let go, I'm consistently dragged, subsequently drugged, markedly worse. The body tends to spill, be poured onto the floor, melting. The body returns to primitive, sensing fear, edging. The body drags, then trickles. The body is a parade, follows drummers, is a drum. The body is a route, a winding road, sweeps the floor. The body is a rug, a tent, given a chance to be taken. Although there are words to represent, describe the body, there's another layer of language we don't yet know that lives inside of a gesture. Never speaks, selectively mutates into. A body's movement carries the ground, carries the sky, substitutes itself for a look in the eye, substitutes itself for a beginning, climbs wide, begins an embrace, embraces another, embraces the other lost language it lost. You are every verb, transitive, past perfect, conditional. You are conjugated, responsible for all actions in the world. Preface yourself by the wind, could be passive, could be done to, are not mistaken for. When the body realizes it is equivalent to dust, breaks down, retracts. When the body realizes it is the language, is able to speak in sentences which do not need translation. 1, the body is a prize. The body is a prize disguised as a fraction, solved by another. When the body breaks out into action, it will not be stopped. 2, the body is a church. I meant to be the church that you slept in, but the way your body moves, there's no room for me. Be a portrait or a panic, the destined one. I ride out your long waves of intensity until the boat flooded, the storm settled, the sky was left alone against. I came in from the sermon, gutted and beguiled. Left off in peace, dragging my robes down the carpeted stairs among candles and hymns, burning deck of disaster, parodied your endless longing and lips. Shelter was the church I was meant to be, born unbelonged to, listening for you to sleep in. 3, the body is a trembling, earth upon wave of epicenter. The body is the epicenter upon wave upon waving. Mesmerization is the byproduct. Can't take your eyes off of. 4, the body is a day that collides with another, marks a calendar, sets a watch, hears an alarm. 5, the body is in the heart. The head is in the heart, the hand is in the head, the lips are on the heart, the love is in the lips, your face is on my mind, your body is in my heart, your lips are on my face is in your heart. 6, your house is the guest of your body. The resting voice is a guest in your house. Your body is a guest of your voice. Your house is the guest of your body. 7, the body is a blanket. If summer is a blanket, the body is a blur. The window is an ocean, a drum is an escape. When a window is the ocean, the body learns to speak. Your arms are a blanket, my heart can't escape. You listen to me breaking. When you listen to me breaking, the body learns to speak. 8, when I am sound asleep, the body wakes me for flight. 9, the body plays the violin. The body plays the violin, rears up in longing, becomes flooded. A dozen bones swallowed up, an orchid, a church service, a prayer, a stick of incense, a bell. The body believes it is. 10, when the body believes it is the sky. When the body believes it is the sky, trembles or relocates, waits to pour. When the body believes it is a church, opens itself up to hold the prayers, to pray, to deliver, sprinkle holy water. When the body believes it is a guitar, whimpers delicate strings, slides down the neck of its fingers, strums bleeding notes. When the body believes it is the night, blows out the candle, looks at the moon, counts sheep, cries itself to sleep. The body is a summer camp filled with games and canoes, cabins and crafts, guitars, fires, slung arrows. 11, the body is a bracelet clasped around a wrist, sometimes dangling. When the body realizes it is the language, is able to speak in sentences. When the body realizes it is language, gasps, cracks itself open, calls out over the edges, displays its soul. The body is a nursery, is a newborn, is nursing, is a barnyard filled with baby animals. Only the body knows how to read. The hushed acreage of landslides, the lush acreage of the fantastic, the drowned ruins of the horizon, the found ruins of toppled grace. The body is rigged to explode. Part 2. When the body washes up on the drowned ruins of the horizon, it becomes a child who runs from danger, flees from strangers, a shoreline, a pacifier placed in the mouth of an infant, strewn across a field like flower seeds dropped from the mouths of birds. The body becomes recollection, a flight path is abrupt yet tender. Where the body leaves off, the land begins. The body has learned to resuscitate itself, collides with eternity, imagines its destiny. The body is a continent roughened by seas, deepened by geology, offers no apology. The body is another word for mercy, trembling, torrential. The body is another name for complexity, perfection, tsunami, weeping. The body has no need to disturb. Because I could not let go, I was wolfed down by the throat of my grief. The body is a back door that quietly sneaks you in. Not a mirage, but a brushstroke unfolding image flooded the floor. The body is deep and forgiving. The body is in retrospect. The body is a hand on the throat. A hand on the throat is a hand. Part 3. Because it was impossible to let go, I was dragged through my own evidence of paradise. The body is grandeur and potential, dragged across sunburn and windy, burning climate change of fires and quakes, industrial hurricanes, floods, miraculous rescues, and the body rescues itself, becomes reclusive longevity. The body might be devoured by desire, triggered by fear, endless in romance, disguised by love, dirtied in emptiness. The peripheral vision of the body is daring, relentless, persistent. the body manages nightfall. With another, the body makes a mold of itself, remembers the memory, and is askew in recollection. Crosses gold, crosses silence, crosses litany, crosses whimpering, crosses divided, crosses clarity. Then the body takes its shirt off and the body edges in. I was dragged crying and I was dragged calling. The body will never rescind its message, will see itself to the end through the duty, the feral, the blinding, careening or barking or defies captions, brazen. The body imagines the ledge, lets go. The body transcends time and the body leaves the ledge, leaving. Limbs retract love, attach longing, limbs collapse in longing, desire, belonging. The body is a passenger in the backseat of the soul, tearing down city streets, frenzied, illegitimate, half crying, half lost. But the body will not abandon a frontier. Translucent wings like a firefly, the body glows in the dark. When the shoreline is touched, the body disembarks, blends with the exiting crowd, lugs itself like luggage up the platform exquisitely. The body lands, has left a trail of waves to mark the distance it has come, flocked to this site for mercy, leniency, evidence, tranquility. Thank you.
Woo. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, stupendous. Thank you all so very, very much. Next week, we've got Anselm Berrigan, Maureen McLean, Karen Weiser, and Eileen Miles, 7. And we'll make sure you get the right link, and hope to see you then. And thank you all 4 wonderful readers, TJ, Martha, Leanne, and Lori. What a night. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.